I just want to thank everybody for joining us here this afternoon, this morning, this evening, wherever you find yourself in your specific time zone. And I want to welcome Jamil Jude, one of our BMPFest MVPs. As you can see, Jamil is already sporting our Black Parents Play shirt, which you can purchase on our shop. In our shop, but it is so special to see Jamil and Kaya Dunn, who like hands people these shirts. I have heard, just like out there in the world. So I always want to shout, Jamil out, and it's really special to have Jamil here as part of this festival. Jamil was both in our first Black fathers in the arts panel conversation that we had around Father's Day, and Jamil was also one of the directors of SAHM, which is how we find ourselves here this afternoon. So Jamil, hello, and also how are you? Because you recently had your second child, so how are you and your wife doing, being thrown into fatherhood times two, and all the directing I know that you do all over the place, because you're not just in one spot. I see you everywhere, and I'm like, what's happening?
Yeah, today you found me on a good day. Today actually happens to be fall break. So this morning, I was up with the oldest one. We were playing in her RV with her RV, like a little one of those RVs that break apart, and there's so many different pieces and things like that. So we were doing a little bit of that today out in the sun, which was nice. I mean, it's a good way to start a weekday, which is normally I spend, like you said, in any different time zone at any given time, any given meeting. So today, that my only meeting and my toughest client was my 4-year-old. I think was a gift, but we'll see how the day plays out.
Okay. That sounds like a good sort of day, and a good client and a good person to have. But sometimes those can be the toughest. I feel like my kids sometimes are the toughest clients. You make consumers. You make them a meal, and they're like, "But wait, I don't want that." And you're like, "But I've tried so hard."
Oh yeah, today there was a little bit of a discussion around which bowl am I going to put the applesauce in versus which bowl am I going to put the yogurt in. I think that oftentimes I think about the ways in which being a father has made me practice, as my 4-year-old runs across the screen, has made me practice my patience. I think that has made me a much better just person in life, much better artist. That I am less focused on having to be right and more interested in allowing people a chance to collaboration journey. Let me finish this interview. Great, you're here. Let's say hi.
Hi, Journey. Hi. How are you?
She asked, "How are you?" I have my headphone in so you can hear me. You doing okay?
Good. I'm good.
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 All right. Well, let me finish. Okay. Thanks. See you.
I like her hair. Oh, she's gonna sneak right. Yes. That's it. Really, that's what it's for.
This is it.
and how does fatherhood and parenthood impact your artistic life in the rehearsal room as a director?
Yeah, I mean, I think that I recognize now just things happen, right? We've been on this Zoom live, we've been working from out of our homes or whatever for now, this is what, year 3 of it or something like that, yes. I'm no longer so everything has to be like one specific way. Like I'm open to the various ways in which work needs to be created. I think I'm more patient in the hall, like in allowing more people like accommodations and things like that. You know, for me, I got into the theater world coming from athletics, where there is like a right way to do thing, and everybody, it's a system. You have to kind of conform to a system. And I think earlier on in my directing career, I very much adopted that football mentality and saying that like I'm going to set the system, everyone's going to align to the system, and then we're going to ultimately have a product at the end of it. And I think now as a parent, having to recognize that the system can and must be adjusted on a minute to minute basis sometimes, but the end goal, keeping the end goal in mind, allows you to get to where you're going successfully. And you may be surprised and pleasantly surprised by what that comes out to be. Um, I think it's made me a better director. I think the work that I have done in the last 2 years has been some of the best work that I've been able to do. And of course, in the last 4 years is when I became a dad.
I think it's just thinking about what you just said earlier and just now about both patience and that the system can and will be adjusted, you know, and thinking about the work even that we have created in this festival and how that is completely a virtual experience, right? We've sort of, you know, taken that system and said, okay, we will continue to create plays, but in a space where people can have their children. And so, I mean, I know all the ways that I think it affects me, but just thinking about this process in particular and this festival for you, what are some of the things that really drew you into the work here and your experiences with Sanhara's piece?
Yeah, you know, I think one of it is that I've had the benefit of working with Sanhara for a while now. Like, she is a divinely connected fellow, which is like our early career program at True Colors. So we've had a long relationship with her, and I had the, you know, opportunity and pleasure to work with her on a development piece that she had been working on with another Atlanta theater. So one, it was really nice just to be able to have the continued relationship with the writer, right? Like, I mean, oftentimes as directors, you know, we like love getting to know a writer over a series of years and not just like one-off projects, right? So it's a different level. The pressure is not on like, oh, will they like me? Will they trust me? I feel like Sanhara trusts me. I think also because I've gotten a chance to know her story, right? Like how she became a mom, what her life has been like in becoming a mom. So there's a different level of respect that I have for her work because I know how personal it is. I think then being able to bring in the artist that we were able to bring with Nastasia is an artist that I've worked with both when we were single people, now to both of us being married with kids. So just to see the, you know, the growth of it and to have her in this piece along with Enoch King, who I've worked with in Atlanta, and Marguerite as well. So just being able to work with those artists was really awesome. But then I want to just talk specifically about the play SAHM, right? Stay at home mom. And, you know, when it kind of happened at this parallel tracks, Lauren and I decided to take this opportunity to move to Atlanta at the same time that we found out that we were pregnant, and Lauren was considering navigating out of the corporate space and into more of an entrepreneurial space, right? So we have been trying to align those journeys at the same time, and it's like, okay, cool, let's just decide to do the most difficult stuff we've ever done in our lives at the same time, because that's the kind of people we are. So this play where you see that Sahara is beautifully written, the challenges of a mother wanting to be there for her kids and to um, accept the responsibility of bringing life into the world. At the same time, a dad who is forced because of work to be gone a lot, but still wanted to be as present of a father as possible and as supportive of a husband and provider as possible. Um, it just felt like, okay, cool. Someone just wrote a play about my life, right? So having the
Yeah.
chance to work on it, find the nuance, and also really being reminded, like, um, hearing your partner's words hits you in a specific way.
Mm-hmm.
Being a part of an artistic process or receiving an art piece also just provides you a different level of empathy, a different lens in which to view. So I think it's just made Lauren and I both consider one another differently. So it's been really fulfilling. Outside of the art, it's been fulfilling heart work too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's that. Th- Thank you for sharing all of that, and I think something that really hit me with Psalm too was hearing my own experiences, kind of diving into par- par- parenthood and feeling like I'm the only one out here, and feeling like, how am I gonna get the support I need, and will I be able to continue a creative life? I think that was something that was a really really big question for me, and so it was really important to represent, and to have Sam as a part of of this festival, and you just amplified all of those things, and it's so important to highlight that there's more than just one person who has that story, right? Like, just in us having this conversation, there's at least four people in the arts who are new parents, or parents who were like talking about this, which just makes me think there's so many more of us out there, and we're not um, we're not like talking about it, or we're not saying, hey, me too. Like, I'm thinking of for friends who are working on a show, and I have a friend who's like taking care of their son, well, so that they can both be in rehearsals, and like these are things that I think we have dealt with. For, like, it's not, this isn't the first time that people have been dealing with it, but I think it's one of the first times that people kind of talk about it in a really open space, and that's what's so incredible. Like, every time I get a message from Kaya, from Kaya, and she's like showing me pictures of people in those shirts, and then I think even the interview that you two did for Choir Boy, there's one picture in one of the articles, and she's in that shirt, and I'm like, oh, that's okay. Like, is anyone thinking about like what that actually m- m- means, and to think there's like a group of people. Did you have any mentors who were black, you know, parents, or black fathers in the theater that you kind of looked up to, or said, oh, this is a path? Because I know I had a couple people that I said, okay, this is how I'm going to start to do it. But like, I'm always curious if you saw other people doing this too.
You know, um, black men, no, not really. I remember once we found out that we were pregnant, which was pretty late into my time in Minnesota, which was like 2017. So I kind of like had to quickly gauge some artists. So I spoke to several people, but also I do remember. So Mary McClinton, he talks a lot about the birth of his son Jesse, right? He talked, rest in peace, Mary. He talked a lot about the birth of his son Jesse and just the way in which that changed his life. Now, you know, I think that there's, you know, I don't know a whole lot about Marion and his story or whatever, but just the ways in which he talked about um, how it changed his approach to work. That comes to mind often, and some of the other black men in my life who may not have had as present of a relationship with their children as they, in hindsight, think that they wanted to have. Also, just affects me too. I think about some of the greatest moments I've had in my life have been with my kids, and just the joy that I get from just seeing them. Um, yes, pulling from some of it, I don't know. Maybe Kwame Kwei-Armah probably is like the one person I can think of
Yeah.
right now who's like running a theater and raising kids and all
Yeah.
these other things and
Yeah.
doing whatever he's doing. But I'm sure if I stopped, really, there's probably others. But um, yeah, it doesn't feel like new ground, but it also feels like I'm glad to know that there are more people wearing these shirts, Bump Fest, and the like, where I can talk to freedom and I can talk to others about like, oh, okay, yeah, I'm not alone. I don't have to feel like I'm alone. This doesn't have to feel like um, starting something from scratch, and that's really helpful.
Yeah. Yeah. And I was really just happy to be able to have more Black fathers involved in the conversation for this year, because they're because the role of the Black family and showing two parent households and or dads involved in the lives of their Black children is something that, if we're talking about the things that are and are not portrayed often in the TV shows and all the things that we see in the mainstream, it's that, right? And so, just to be able to have a little bit and say, no, they're here, like they're out here, and it's an intentional thing. It's just really important to me. So I just appreciate you as well, just being pop, pop, part of that. Um, Thinking about the role, I think you touched on this a little bit, but just thinking about the role of care giving in this play, and why do you feel like we needed to tell this story now?
Well, I think that with the rise of social media, or like hey, we live in just like, let me not say that, right? Like, because it's not like on the rise, right? Like, we just live in a digital age. We live in such a
Yeah.
connected place, right?
Yeah.
And some, our mom is kind of stuck in this place, right? Like searching the internet for answers because like that's everything is Googleable, right? And also wanting to be inside of a community. I can imagine if the play is contemporarily set, right? Like with a young child and the germs that are just out there in the world that seem to be, more prevalent than they were maybe even, when a decade ago, right? Like at least our awareness of the ways in which germs can affect, like that could be extremely isolating. And I can imagine that for our main character, that was extremely isolating. So turn into this online community where there seem to be answers, and also that there are people that are out there that are experiencing the same things as you. Like I was happy to be able to tell a story that affirmed that experience of like seeking community where there is none inside of the four walls of your house. I also thought it was really important to also speak to the dynamics that are at play, that isn't about any one thing. It's not necessarily about the challenges of motherhood. It's not necessarily about the challenges of um, staying at home or trying to raise a family in a partnership, but having to be the primary caretaker. Right? Like, it was about the ways in which all of those things intersect, and to be able to tease it out, and the value in community, both present and virtual, and the ways in which, again, this is more so speaking to my own like self interest, the ways in which, in this case, a father, but working partners, especially partners that have to travel for work, want to try to stay present and engaged and stuff like that. So I just, so for so many different angles, I just thought it just hit all the angles on contemporary parenthood and partnership, and did it in a way that didn't try to imagine a world, but just like dropped us right there in the reality of it.
Yeah. Yeah. Oof. Have there been like people in your community that have been helpful in just your day to day caring of your family?
Yeah, I'm thankful that Lauren has like a really great friend network,
Mm-hmm.
of other moms, some of whom are stay-at-home moms. So I think being able to bounce those ideas there, them calling each other, pitching in like, "Hey, I got to go run and do this thing for an hour. Can I drop, the can I drop my kid here and play with yours for a little bit?" Or,
Yeah.
"Hey, we're all going to meet up at a park, or we're all going to go do our separate things in the morning, and then let's take advantage of some afternoon time." I think that's been really helpful. I'm always thankful for the dads in those community spaces. I love the fact that here in Atlanta we have aunts and uncles that are down and ready to pitch in, and cousins and things like that. We just went to like a film on the weekend, and we had a cousin come in and help out. So yeah, we have a great village. I
Yeah.
think COVID has made it more difficult to lean on to that village.
Mm-hmm.
But every time we tap into it, I believe it's a good reminder that more can be possible if you ask for help. And I think that is also the one of the things in Psalm is the value of asking for help, and the overall benefit that comes to you when you do.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And I think you know there's also as you're talking about the different pieces of your community, I'm also reminded that we don't often associate stay-at-home mom with black women or with black fa- families, just because it's not an economical thing that I think is often associated with us. And so I was also drawn to highlighting that too for black families, because it's it it isn't a term I think that is associated with us. And I think when you see a picture of a stay-at-home mom, she's not often a black woman, and so this piece shifts
Well,
that a bit too.
and I think that's one of the reasons why I love living in Atlanta, right? Everyone asks me like, "Hey, is Atlanta
Yeah.
going to be the last place that you ever live?" And I'm like, "Where else would I want to go?" Right? Like, no disrespect to any other city in the contiguous United States or across the world or whatever, but like, um, it's actually not that big of a leap for me because I know
Mm,
so many black stay-at-home moms in my life, right? Like,
yeah.
and of course, most of that is because of, Lauren and extending community and the community in which she's found and stuff like that. But like, it feels fairly like synonymous,
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
and but in my own upbringing, right, like I did not see stay-at-home moms first, nor were any of the Black mothers in my life stay-at-home mothers, right? So in some ways it feels like a shift in understanding for me, but not a radical one because of the sheer amount of Black women I see holding it down in that role.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah. No, that is true. Am I still up? Okay. My last question as we close out here. We've sort of talked about it a bit, but I think just as we end, what about this festival when you got the call and the ask to be involved in all the ways, the stuck out to you and made you go yes?
Yeah, I mean, I think this is easy, right? Like, I mean, first you asked, right? So anytime you hit me up,
Well,
it's we're already 90% to a yes. I often have like in my freelance work, I used to say like I had 5 P's for job selection, and of course now that I've enumerated them, I'm probably going to forget them. But it was like pay, play, place, people, and prestige, right? Like, so I had to know how much I was getting paid. I had to know what the play was like. I had to know who the people I was going to be working with. I had to know where I was going to be doing it. And I had to kind of understand, like, like how was this going to affect my career, right? Now, as an artistic director and as a dad, I think, because I'm an alliterative person, Jamil Jude, I also think about like, I think about my producing schedule at the theater, and also think about my parenting responsibilities, right? So it's like it's grown from 5 to 7. Long story to say that, like, but when I started lining those things up, like it was all like 7 yeses. When it was 5, you had to be 3 out of the 5. Now, who knows what the real breakdown is, but I just have to take those things into consideration. And the things that I love about you as a producer, but BMPFest in general, is that one, you're going to already consider people's parenting schedule, right? Like that's the whole idea with the festival is like, hey, we're going to try to find a way to make it work around you. And the responsibilities that you have, and that ethos carried through in the rehearsal process and all these other things. Like our stage manager was a working mom, and our artists and stuff like that. And as far as the producing schedule, I was able to work it around some of the other things that I was doing. You take care of artists really well as far as pay and stuff like that. So like that's always love. I love you all as people. The play really spoke to me. I love being a part of this. Like I love wearing this shirt. It's a source of pride. I love the fact that, in the growth in this, all right, that you're partnering with National Black Theater and Repertory Theater St. Louis and Oregon Shakespeare Festival, all organizations run by working mothers, working Black mothers, right? Especially National Black Fest, right? National Black Theater, sorry, excuse me, with the CEO, I think is title maybe, but I know Jonathan is artistic director, right? But so like, I think that, it just checks all the boxes. So it becomes it becomes hella easy, right, to say yes because of all the ways in which it complements the work that I'm trying to do out in the field.
Jamil, thank you. That was an amazing answer. Thank you. I appreciate that. And I think this is a really amazing team. And to everybody here, it was always excited to have you part of it. It was like, oh, Jamil's going to do it. That's great. So very exciting. Well, thank you so much for this time on your fall break too. So I hope your daughter that you and Journey get to have a little bit more fun this afternoon.
Yeah, I think we're about to go back out and play with these RVs and hang out in the sun for a little bit between
perfect
calls. So, yeah.
Great.
Thanks again.
Okay. Thank you so much, Jamil. It's okay. Okay. Bye.
Bye.